Hey, what's up guys, it's AndreOther here, bringing you guys another video. And in this video I'm going to be showing you guys the easiest way to mix your 808s with your kicks. Let's get into it. Alright, so as you guys probably know already, I do use Logic. But if you don't use Logic, don't worry, because the first part of this video, the first tip I'm going to give you guys is something that you can do in any DAW. Let's get into Logic right now and let's get into the tutorial. Alright, so as you guys can see, we are now in Logic. And we have a project already opened up for you guys. This is just a beat that I made a few years ago actually. But this is just a beat where I actually used this technique that I'm going to show you guys, and it worked perfectly with this 808 and with these specific kicks. So there's two ways of really going about doing this. There's the first way, which is the easiest way, and the second way is not quite as easy. It takes a little bit of fiddling around with, but both of them are quite simple and you shouldn't really take too long to do these two methods. So the first method is going to be the attack method. The attack method is really simple. So what we're going to do right now, as you guys can see, we've soloed out the 808s and the kicks. Obviously we have the full project here, but we only need to hear the 808s and the kicks. So we are going to go into the 808s. With these 808s, these 808s are actually in the E2S VST. But don't worry about it. Every kind of VST that you're going to use, whether it be Ultra Beat or whether it be the EX224 sampler, every kind of VST has ADSR. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to listen to the 808 first to hear how it sounds. So let's listen to it. So yeah, as you can see, it sounds very clicky, and that's kind of how this bass, this 808 kind of naturally sounds. So when you actually hear that with some kicks, you have the kicks here. That's how the kicks sound, and if you hear the kicks with the 808s, you hear they kind of overlap each other a little bit. So let's listen to that. So as you can hear, the 808s have a kind of a clicking kind of sound when it first hits, and that sound kind of overlaps and it kind of overwrites the kicks, and we don't really want that. We don't really want the kicks and the 808s kind of fighting over each other. We want them to play in tandem with one another, and we want to make sure that the 808s has a pocket that the kicks can sit into, so they're kind of not overlapping each other, they're playing with each other. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the first method, which is the attack method. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn up the attack. If you don't know what the attack is just here. So like I said before, the ADSR is just over here and the A stands for attack. So what we're going to do is we're going to play the kick, we're going to play the 808s, and we're going to slowly boost up the attack just to kind of hear the 808s and to try and get it to sound like how we want it to sound. So we're going to play the 808s and we're going to slowly boost the attack, and we're going to stop when it sounds kind of how we want it to sound, when it sounds nice and soft. So we're going to play the 808s and we're slowly going to turn up the attack, and you're going to notice that the 808s, when it first hits, it's going to be softer. So we're going to soften the 808s to the point where when it's hitting, it doesn't have a clicking kind of noise, and it kind of sounds more soft when it starts playing. So we're going to keep turning this up. So as you can see, sounding a little bit better. We'll turn it up a little bit more. So normally you can kind of have it around this region, but with this beat I kind of turned it up a little bit more because the kicks, the certain frequency with the kicks, it kind of required me to turn this up a little bit. So I think I had it around 120 or 130. We had it around 120, and I thought that actually sounded good with the kicks. So now that we've turned up the attack, and if you don't know what attack does, if you don't know what it does by now, basically what it does is just softens whatever sound that's playing. So whether it be an 808 or some any other synth, will soften that sound. So when it first hits, as you can see, as you heard at the beginning of the video, it was quite clicky and quite punchy when it first hit. So when you turn up the attack, what it will do, it will soften that 808. So when it hits, it's kind of softer. So when the 808 hits, it's not really as punchy or clicky. It kind of sounds a bit more smooth, a bit more soft. So when it hits, it doesn't really have much punch to it, and you don't really want your 808s to have a lot of punch to it when you're kind of mixing them with your kicks, because you want the kicks to kind of provide that punch. With the 808, sometimes you just want to hear the boom, you know, you don't really want to hear that kind of punch with the 808s when you're kind of mixing them with the kicks. You want the kicks to provide the kind of punching sound, and you want the 808 to just provide that booming kind of sound that we all like to hear with our 808s. So obviously you don't want to turn the attack up too much, because if you turn the attack up too much, you'll kind of start to play kind of inverted. So if you turn it up all the way, you kind of hear the 808 sound really weird. So when you have it up too much, it kind of messes up just the whole sound of the 808 or whatever sound you're working with. So we don't want to turn it up too much. We kind of want to have it down about 130 or anything below that number. You don't want it up too much, because it'll start to mess up the actual sound of the 808. So we're going to listen to what the 808s now sound like with the kicks, and it should sound a little bit better. It shouldn't really sound like they're overwriting each other. It should just play perfectly with one another. So we're going to listen to the 808 bass line and the kicks, and we're going to hear the difference when you turn up the attack a little bit. So as you can hear, it sounds much better. It doesn't sound like the two frequencies with the 808s and the kicks are kind of fighting over each other. It sounds like the 808s has created a nice pocket for the kicks to sit in, and they're kind of playing with one another. They're playing in tandem instead of kind of playing over one another. And that's really what you want. That's kind of the quickest and easiest way to kind of mix your kicks with your 808. Obviously this is probably not a method that an audio engineer would probably do, but if you guys are beginners and you don't really want to go through the whole process of mixing your kicks and your 808s and stuff, because that can be a very long, tedious process. If you just want a quick little fix to mix your kicks with the 808s, that's probably the easiest way to do it, which is the attack method, and that's the easiest way to kind of go about it. And yeah, so that's the first method. So the second method is a little bit more complex, but it shouldn't take too long. So with the second method, all you want to do is go to your kicks. So as you can see, we have our kicks soloed out here, and then you want to go to bus, and you want to find an empty bus. So as you can see, bus 1 is taken, bus 2 is taken, bus 3 is taken. You want to go to bus 4. So now that we are on bus 4 with our kicks, what we do now is we turn it all the way up. So we go to this little slider, this little turner here, and we turn it all the way up to 0. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to go to our mixer, and then we are going to find audio aux 4, because obviously we had our kick on bus number 4, so that sound's going to be sent to aux number 4. And whatever bus you're on, if you're on bus number 1, it'll be aux number 1. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to the out and click no output. The reason why you do that is because what happens when you send a kick to a bus, the kicks will play from the original instrument that the kick is in, and it'll also play in that aux 4 output. So what will happen is the kick will be twice as loud, because you're hearing 2 kicks kind of playing of 2 different channels but playing at the same time, so it'll sound extra loud. So what we want to do is turn off the other channel, which is aux 4, to make sure it's only playing out of one channel. So let's listen to the kicks, and if we don't turn off the aux 4, it's going to sound a bit louder, you know. So as you can tell, that sounded a little bit louder. We turn off the aux 4. Oh, sorry, that's actually not the, turn off the wrong one. Turn off the aux 4. and it will sound exactly how we want it to sound, so not too loud. So what you want to do is you want to, when you've done that, when you've sent your kick to a certain bus, what you want to do is you want to go to your 808s. So we're going to go to this 808 here, and then we are going to open up a compressor. As you can see, we already have a compressor with the 808s, but we're going to solo out the kicks as well. So yeah, so now we're in the compressor for the 808s. Now what we're going to do is sidechain, because that's really what this method really is. It's just a sidechaining method, and this is probably a more proper way of going about mixing your kicks with your 808s. So yeah, so now that we're in sidechain, we're going to find bus number 4, because that's the channel, or that's the bus, sorry, our kicks are on. So now when I play the kicks in the 808s, you'll see something happening on this graph. As you can see in the graph, these little dips that you guys see, those are the kicks that are actually playing. So every time the kick plays, there's a little dip in the frequency. So as you can see, every time the kicks are hitting, it dips a little bit, and this frequency is obviously the 808s. So basically what you want to do with this method, you want to make sure that the 808s are kind of dipping whenever the kicks are hitting. So remember when I told you guys about the punch, you want the kicks to provide the punch, and you want the 808s just to provide the boom. So what you really want is you want the kicks to kind of punch through the beginning of the 808s. So the best way we can see that is for me to kind of turn down the attack, because the attack is already up at the point that we wanted it. So the kicks are, so the 808s are already soft. So we're going to turn down the attack just so we can kind of hear what I want you guys to hear a little bit better. So we're going to turn on the attack so it has a little bit of a punch. There we go. So now I can actually demonstrate this example a little bit better for you guys. So we're going to go back into the compressor, and then what you really want to do is you want to go to sidechain, and then, because that's what we're doing, really sidechaining, and then you want to go to threshold, ratio, and makeup. I think these are the 3 main things you guys want to mess around with. You can mess around with the other settings, but I think threshold, ratio, and makeup kind of have the most significant changes. So you want to mess around with those 3 in particular. So we are going to listen to the 808s and the kicks, and we're going to mess around with some of these settings, especially the threshold and ratio, and then we're going to stop when the kicks and 808s sound how we want them to sound. So we're going to play the kicks and 808s, and what you want to do is you want to focus on the graph. So what we want is we want those dips to kind of push through the 808s a little bit. So what we do is turn down the threshold, sorry. So as you can see, the dips are getting deeper, and what you want to do is you want to turn up the ratios, and it'll really start to dip. So as you can see, it's now dipping through, it's now punching through the 808 frequency. So obviously the white line is the kicks, the kind of grayed out area is the 808s. So as you can see, it's punching through the 808s now. That's kind of what you want. So you can turn up the ratio a little bit more. But when you do this, you notice that the actual sound of the 808s will increase. So what you want to do is you want to go to the makeup, turn it down, because we don't want the 808s to sound too loud. So that's starting to sound okay. It doesn't sound perfect right now, because obviously I'd have to fiddle around with it a little bit more, and I don't want this video to be too long, but I think you guys get the idea. So just mess around with these settings until the 808s and the kicks sound how you want them to sound. So now we're going to listen to the 808s and the kicks and see if they sound good to me and you guys can tell me what you think. So it's sounding a little bit okay. I think we still need to fiddle around with the settings a little bit more, but that's for you guys to do. So obviously when you're doing your beat, you can mess around with the settings and kind of have it sound how you guys want it to sound. But those are just the two main methods when it comes to mixing your 808s and your kicks. Those are just the two easiest methods. Obviously an audio engineer would have their own methods, which would probably take a little bit longer than these methods would take you, but these are just kind of like a quick fix just to kind of mix those kicks with the 808s if you don't want to spend forever going through the whole mixing process. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Those are just the two methods that you guys can use if you just want a really quick, easy way to mix your kicks and your 808s. Those two methods were the attack method and the side chaining compression method. Obviously the first method is a little bit easier. You can do it on any DAW, and you can also do the side chaining on any DAW, but I think the first method was a little bit quicker and a little bit easier. The second method is more proper. That's kind of the method that you guys want to use, and that's the method that most experienced producers and engineers and stuff would probably recommend you guys do. So they probably recommend you doing the side chaining method, and I would too. That's probably the most proper way to go about mixing your 808s with your kicks. Now there's another way that people normally do. Sometimes people mess around with the equalizing, so they mess around with the frequencies with the 808s and the frequencies with the kicks, and they kind of create little pockets in the 808s, so they kind of lower certain frequencies in the 808s and kind of boost certain frequencies in the kicks, just to kind of have them playing together. I don't really like that method because with the 808s, obviously you're going to have your 808s playing in different notes and stuff like that, so they're going to be playing different frequencies, and I think it gets a little bit complicated when you try and make a pocket with your 808s when your 808s are playing different frequencies. So that's why I kind of like to go about it doing the attack method or really the compression method, because that method is not really specific to any kind of frequency. With that method, literally the kicks just punch through your 808s, and it doesn't really have anything to do with a certain frequencies. So if that probably doesn't really make sense to most of you guys, but all of you guys who are, you know, audio engineers and you do a little bit of mixing, maybe that would make sense to you guys. But that's pretty much it for today's video, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. So I hope you guys learned something from this video, and I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did like the video though, please click the like button down below and subscribe for more, because I have way more videos like this coming out every single week. And if you guys want to purchase any beats from me, you can go to AndreOther.beatstars.com, and if you guys want, you can follow me on Twitter, and you can also follow me on Instagram for all the latest updates, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.